You're listening to the Known Legacy Podcast, brought to you by Known Legacy Ministries. For more information, go to knownlegacy.org. Now here's your hosts, Bill and Travis.
Good morning, Bill.
Guten Tag.
Oh, we're going German today.
I'm working on my languages.
You know, we are getting close to Oktoberfest, so I appreciate you working on that. That's fantastic.
Dankeschön. Is that the right word?
Yeah, I think so, because the only way I know that is because of Felix Bueller's Day Off.
I literally was just going to say the same high five.
Dankeschön.
That's so awesome. That was such a good movie.
Oh, yeah. A classic.
Classic.
That's one of the movies that I hope they never remake. Like, there's no way you could remake it.
Stop. Look, stop remaking movies.
Hollywood, listen to us.
Be creative.
Yeah.
I got an idea. Let's remake a movie from 30 years ago.
In a world of a few billion people, there's got to be some great, clever, new stories that tell old truths that will resonate with the heart of humanity. We don't need to rehash Frozen Part 17 and another Marvel movie.
If you do Back to the Future again, I'm literally going to come to your door.
We've been back.
Don't do that.
We've been back enough.
Marty's McFly'd the coop. Okay?
Stop.
That was good. That was really good. That was awesome. Hey, welcome to the show today. Thank you so much for being here. We're so
if
glad.
You're still listening.
Yeah, we're still. I think you're still listening. I think at this point, you know our stupidity knows no bounds.
Yeah.
And so we are glad to have you, Travis. Glad to see your face. Kyle.
Good to see you, Bill.
How are you doing?
Good. Thank you.
Producer Kyle in the corner. Fantastic.
We are so pumped to have you guys. You know, Travis does this, but I'm going to try this. Man, we are so glad to have you here today. Man, where we want men to wake up, gear up, and come alive. Man, we are so excited for this interview today, as well as the question of the day.
Right. And if you want to follow us, you can always do it on YouTube, Facebook,
do
and
that
Instagram.
too.
If you want to leave a review, we'd be more than happy for you to do that. Sharing it is always a way to love and care for our mission and ministry. If you're looking for a place to make a donation to support us, this does not happen just out of the goodness of our heart. And if you want to make it does.
Well, it happens out of the goodness, but
it actually does.
We don't pay for it out of the goodness.
Right.
I guess sometimes we do.
Right. So if you want to support us, info@knownlegacy.org, or you can go to the website, and there's a little donation button there, and we are tax exempt, and so
yes, we are.
You can always get credit for that if you so choose. And man, I'm excited about that. And so here's the question. Again,
yes.
We're recording this second interview today, which I'm excited about, and it's on September 11th,
yes,
and 2025, for a little reference. And so my mind is a little bit in that reflective stage, and so here's the question for us, gentlemen. All of us have had that moment where there's something that's happened in our culture or in our own lives that kind of woke us up to the reality of the world and maybe robbed us of our innocence, our childhood innocence, you might say.
Yeah.
Like for me, I remember I was in 6th grade, and we were in a creative and performing arts school there in Rockford, Illinois, and it was a smaller 6th grade. There was only like 20, 25 of us, and we had all been assigned different shuttle crews because we had the big shuttle launch that was happening, right?
Okay.
And I was the captain, thank you very much, of the Challenger, which turned out to be not the one to be the captain of. And I remember the math teacher had the one TV in the hallway, and we all got in the room, and we were all watching the launch of the Challenger. And I just remember sitting there and just being in awe of like I can still vividly see the seat I was in, the classmates that were around me, it happening, and us, of course, because we're all big fans of, Red Dawn, immediately going to the Russians blew it up, and just that whole week, 2-3 weeks of investigations, trying to figure out what happened, and my dad worked for an aerospace company, and so he had parts that were on the shuttle, so his life became engulfed because they're trying to figure out, was it our part that failed?
Yeah.
Was it, how did our part play into that whole thing? So that for me was like this moment of like, wow, the world is a lot bigger and to some degree scarier than I thought it was.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
That's it. Travis, Kyle, what about you?
Oh, coming to me, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to come to you.
October 31st, 1976.
Okay.
Probably before you guys were born. But my mom had taken me and my brothers, they were 8 at the time, I was 11, out trick-or-treating in Lancaster, Ohio.
Okay.
And just walking down the street and hear, what's so funny?
The bag.
Hear this squealing, brakes, and, a thud.
Oh, no.
And a kid had been hit crossing the street just right by us. So everybody just sort of stood there, and my mom just walked out to him and put her coat over him.
You were that close?
Yeah, it was like 10 feet away.
Wow.
And then we just, I don't know how long it was. It seemed like it was hours, but until ambulance and police got there. Nobody had cell phones. And
No.
Yeah, nobody, yeah.
So, but yeah, that was the end of the trick-or-treating, and that was the moment I realized, hey.
Yeah, well, that's pretty...
Anytime.
Bro, you made a really heavy question today.
I apologize. What's our
I
favorite
know.
ice cream
I
flavor?
know, exactly.
Dude, wow. That's such a formative,
Yeah.
That's such a formative moment to see that and experience that. Bill, how about you?
So I had shared one earlier that I was thinking about, but actually it's changed for me. There was there was a kid at school who actually, ironically, now that you say it, was hit, and I didn't know him well, but I remember seeing him the few days before at school, and then finding out he got hit by a car and was killed. And his name was Chris, and I remember that like clear as day because we ended up going to his funeral. His funeral was actually the same day as the O.J. Simpson trial, like when they
gave the verdict?
They gave the verdict.
Oh,
It was
geez.
literally as we were driving to his funeral was the same day. And I remember that being like he was only a grade younger than me.
Wow.
And how fast life went. You know, and then even a few years before that, I think it was the Waco stuff.
Right.
And then seeing like the Branch Davidian burning up and whatever our political views are, whatever, but like to see those people, you're like, that's the first time like people are dying in there right now. And that was just so just that like sharpness of like, wow, life is short. So yeah, those kind of moments really hit me hard. But
all right, next time I'm going to come up with a really happy question.
And my favorite ice cream is chocolate.
Chocolate.
Chocolate, so I love it. Which, you know, now that we're at this high moment, I want to introduce our guest, Benji.
Benji, I'm sorry.
Benji Cowart, so glad to have you on.
Lead in for Benji ever.
Exactly. Sorry, Benji, we've just depressed everything. Singer, songwriter, man, extraordinaire, and I'm so glad to have him on. We are so excited. Benji, thanks for being on today.
Yeah.
Looking forward. This is fun.
Awesome. Well, how about you? What's your most traumatic experience now that we're going through? Gosh.
I'm going to take us like right back down to Debbie Downer land.
Okay.
But it really so I had, when I was in 6th grade, there was, this would have been, I think it was before 7th grade, but I had 4 friends, and I like to imagine, it kind of felt like, you remember the movie Stand By Me?
Oh, yeah.
Like we were,
Great
4
movie.
of us were those, we hung out like nonstop the entire summer. And so again, not to get super heavy, but I remember Saturday morning getting my mom, it's like back when everybody didn't have their own phone. We had one dedicated phone in the house.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Mom answers the phone, and she comes and gets me, and she says, "Benji, you need to get on the phone." And so one of the guys from that crew, his name was John Haney Zadurka, had basically just the night before had been in a car wreck and passed away. So again, heavy. But I remember that was the first time, and really the real first face-to-face with grief and with, just how short life is. And that's super heavy, but you asked the question.
Yes,
I did.
Yes, you did. And now what's your favorite ice cream flavor, please?
Mostly all of probably Rocky Road's the go-to, but pretty much all of them.
Nice.
Okay, good. I like that. Anything that includes milk and sugar, I'm good with. So.
Well, what I do
100%.
find fascinating is like for most of us, it was in that early junior high, mid junior high time that that experience that rose came off the bloom, so to speak, or bloom came off the rose. I don't know how the saying is.
I don't know, but it sounded good both ways.
Right. But yeah, it's fascinating. So, and I think to wrap up this conversation, I guess, it's important for us to sit with those and be reminded of those because it does stir within us empathy.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, people have some of those moments in their own lives, some of them more recent than others,
Yeah.
that they've never been able to overcome. They've never been able to move beyond, and they still sit in that. And as we gather with people and as maybe they come at us to have empathy towards them, saying, man, maybe I'm just wearing the mask of a demon they've been fighting for a long time. And it's not
all
against
that pain
me.
and stuff, yeah.
It's against something else that maybe I'm representing at this moment at this time.
Yeah.
So
No,
there's some hope and redemption there, man.
It was a good question, so don't take that bad. It's amazing how those moments that we just forget about them. So
yeah.
But
can
in those
we all
moments,
agree on something?
what's
Sure.
that?
Can we all agree that there's nothing redemptive about middle school?
Yes, yeah. I actually told my kids, both of them, I said, if you can make it through middle school,
can make it
you
through
can literally make it through anything. Like,
And you can
Seriously.
get you just survive it. Like literally, I had the borderline same conversation. I was like, look, these next 3 years, they're meant to be survived. That's it.
that's it. The food chain gets developed, and man, it's like, oh, the pecking order, and it's terrible. But yeah,
it is.
There's a moment you're going to believe Darwin, but don't believe it.
don't believe him.
It will be survival of the fittest for about 3 years.
Exactly.
And then you'll believe mercy and grace because you're like, how did that person survive?
Exactly.
Like,
oh my god,
they should have been taken out. If Darwin is true, that person should have been
They've
taken
been taken out. Exactly. There is a God. So, well, man, we're so glad to have you on, man. I know that, man, you've done a lot in the industry. I mean, share a little bit about yourself, your story, how you got into songwriting, just who you are. Please share some stuff about yourself, brother.
All right. The short version is I grew up in Nashville, grew up around it, and so I went to college, went to Belmont, did the whole music business thing, and the two things I said I'd never do were I would never go to seminary and I'd never be in full-time ministry. And well, guess what happened? So I ended up basically leaving Nashville for 15 years, lived all over the country, and last 7 years in Buffalo, New York, which is where the very painful Buffalo Bills loyalty began.
Boy, I love losing Super Bowls.
Bills Nation, baby.
Oh my gosh! Like there's still like
I threw that there. Sorry.
No, it's fair. It's like you still can get a twitch out of people in Buffalo when you bring that up. Or you bring up the wide right, or you bring the Music City Miracle, which against the Titans, which is absolutely, for the record, should be referred to as a Music City miscall. The ref missed it. Like, there's no dispute.
No bitterness there. No
No,
bitterness.
not
None.
Shouldn't have been in that position.
Just shouldn't have been there.
Well, Benji, it was nice having you on. Thank you so much for being here. And thanks for listening to No Legacy Podcast.
I say that as a Cowboys fan. Don't be in the position.
Yeah, living in Dallas.
Checked out.
Benji, let me tell you, living in Dallas, and as a Green Bay Packer fan in Dallas, those twitches are very real for very real Dallas fans. Like the Micah Parsons thing still makes people's eyes twitch, and just like, why the Packers? Why the Packers?
I don't know.
Because we're a good organization that knows how to win.
Wow. Anyways, Benji, I'm so flustered. I called you Benny. Oh my gosh.
That's right.
Anyways, go for it, man. So Buffalo, New York, you were there.
So for 7 years I was a worship pastor, and just honestly, like, started writing songs. I would say maybe from the best place, which is what are songs I wish somebody else would write for my church? Because by that time I'd kind of just said, okay, because I'd always wanted to be an artist or a songwriter in Nashville, and so when I left Nashville, it was kind of like, well, maybe this is a death to that dream. And but what's happening is, so during my 7 years in Buffalo, I started writing songs for our church, and I was sending them to a guy in Nashville, and I was the classic. My dad had somebody in his Sunday school class who was the secretary of somebody in the music business. So I was like, well, I'll just start sending them songs, and so it was 5 years of no, or 5 years of, hey, this is good, but, and I mean, the guy that was responding to me, his name is Chad Segura, and I will, like, he's the guy that kind of opened the door for me, so I will forever be grateful. But he was 5 years, but he was listening to my songs and giving me feedback. And so what's funny, though, is the song that I wrote, and I was having a pity party day. Basically, it was like, I had someone I knew in Nashville that every time I'd bring up writing, they would just shut me down. And so I kind of was like, God, why won't this door open? Why won't? And I very distinctly heard God say, whose name and whose opinion are you worried about?
Ooh.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't condescending. It was just, I was like, man. So I kind of in that moment was like, what if it's just me writing for you and writing for this church? And it's the first time when I say that's enough. It's the first time I really meant it, because all the other times we're all trying to play these like see if we can bait and switch God. Okay, God, I'm ready. It's enough. I'm ready now.
Yep.
Yes.
This is the first time where I was like, no, I'm really good. And what's ironic is I wrote that song. We started singing in our church because I just kind of wrote a song down in that moment of just going, yours will be the only name that matters to me. I wrote out just kind of this prayer and wrote into a song. We started singing at our church. Well, the song absolutely, like, it was just really cool to see how the church responded to it. And so I ended up just sending it to him, and I'm like, man, like, this song, there's something to it. I'd love your thoughts. Because by this time I was just saying, man, just help me write a better song.
Right.
And so that was, what's funny is that moment of going, all right, I'm done, I'm good, was the song that opened the door to Nashville.
What was the song?
It's The Only Name That Matters. Big Daddy Weave ended up recording it.
Of course,
yeah.
And so that kind of, he said, can I pitch to a band? I was like, sure. And so I ended up meeting with Mike Weaver, the lead singer for Big Daddy Weave, and he and
phenomenal
I just met.
guy.
Yeah, we've had him on the podcast a couple times. He's a good dude.
He's so good, man.
He's like the real dude. He's one of the funniest human beings I've ever been.
Yes, he is.
And so he and I literally, we connected. I down in Nashville, and because my family's all still here, so we were definitely coming back and forth. And he and I met, and it was like we had lived parallel lives in ministry. We had been under the same pastors. We'd been in the same places. So he and I just connected. We both had an absurd love for Beavis and Butthead. Quoted all the same movies, like understood the canon of Dumb and Dumber.
Oh.
Yes.
And so we just kind of was like, did we just become best friends? And so he and I, the first song we ever wrote, and this is what's so we jumped on. This was back when Skype was the primary way that you did anything online, and we got together, and the first song we ever wrote was Redeemed. And
that's awesome.
And so, and honestly, like, we wrote the song. Mike told me later, but he honestly didn't even. He just thought that was for the moment, just for us. Didn't think much about it. I started doing it at my church, and like, just again was like, whoa, something's happening around this, and just so that. Long story short, that song, Mike began out live, started seeing ministry things around it. He, at one point, probably about 2 or 3 months after a conversation he and I had, I just got a text. He said, man, we're seeing stuff happen around this song in ministry that we've never seen before.
Wow.
And so just God opened that door. And then we wrote a bunch of songs after that were not good. And so it just kind of felt like that was God's way of saying, I'm going to just make sure you understand who is responsible for this.
Yep.
It's not about you, yeah.
You didn't find a secret sauce. You just need to
write a few songs in your own. We'll see how that plays out, and then maybe I'll jump back in.
So let me ask this question, because I think this pertains to the guys that are listening in and the gals that are listening in. Is that idea of long-suffering faithfulness, when you feel called to something and you're engaging in something, but you don't feel or see the fruit right away.
Yeah.
How were you able to continue to pursue that faithfulness even when it seemed like doors? That's our classic line in the church. Well, if he opens a door, and that basically means if it's going to be easy and there's going to be tons of success, you should go for it. But if the door closes, pivot. And it sounds like there was a lot of door closes, but you didn't pivot. What allowed you to remain faithful even when there was not a temporal success there? Man,
that's a great, because that's my big thing is, I don't know what the middle ground is, but, there's something, because I don't even, honestly, it wasn't so much I felt like this call from God to write as much as I couldn't turn it off. And there were so many things I'd read, it's like, delight yourself in the Lord, He'll give you the desires of your heart. And I'm kind of like, well, Lord, that desire's there, but I'm just doing it. And so I'm kind of like, there's this weird line of, I think God prefers to steer a car once it's moving.
Yep.
And so it's like, because for a long time, it's like, I'm just going to do my thing and it's just going to happen. But I'm also kind of like, but if I'd never sent those songs to my friend Chad, so there was kind of a both and. It's like me initiating, and I think that's some of that's a work that God's doing in my life. I'm a very reactive person. I'm not a proactive person.
Gotcha.
And so I think God was trying to grow some proactive in me as well. But at the same time, I, short of being a stalker, I just wouldn't take no for an answer. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of like, man, okay, as long as he's listening, and as soon as, if I had genuinely felt from Chad, like, dude, you're just bugging the crap out of me, I would have stopped. But I never got that from him. He was always very like, hey, man, we can't do anything with this, but what if you did this with the song, and so.
Here's my new song. In fact, I like your drapes. I like the drapes at your house.
Yeah.
I love that, because there are so many great stories of Scripture of just the faithful prayer and the faithful, like, I think of the Old Testament and the mom who's just desperate to have a kid, and prayed and was always at the temple, and just in that faithful surrender in the midst of sorrow and in the midst of struggle. I think there's something beautiful to that, and we need to learn to embrace that as a church again and as followers of Christ, because we live in such an instant gratification that we forget that, man, God does some amazing pruning in our own hearts and our own lives in that long, faithful suffering.
Yeah, no, and I think there's something good about that, and the idea that there comes a point in everything that we do that it seems like it's an itch that you can't scratch, and it has nothing to do with your identity. It's just, I need to do this because there's nothing else in me that I want to do. Like that God hasn't equipped me for anything else, and I just can't. I get this like tunnel vision. So I get what you mean when you're like, I just had to do it. And it wasn't just I'm trying to, because there comes a point when you're not making any money and there's nothing to it, and you're like, this isn't my identity anymore. Like, this just sucks, but I can't do anything else.
Right.
It's kind of what it seems like God brings you to. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. And it was one of those. But the crazy thing is, so without the 15 years in ministry, like, because I thought when I left Nashville, okay, well, I'm killing that dream, but that. I really believe God was like, no, you're just not ready for that dream yet. And if I hadn't had 15 years in the church, because I feel like Nashville's a town where anybody can get the door open once, but Nashville's a first impression town. And man, if you can't keep the door open, that can almost be even worse.
Yep.
And so I feel like I just had 15 years of being in people's stories, like just hanging out with. I had some people at my church in Buffalo that were absolute legends. Like there's a group of old guys that used to come up. 3 of them were brothers, and I talk about them all the time but these guys had all been rough before they were believers. I don't think they were in an official biker gang, but they were living biker lifestyles.
Yep.
They became believers. The fact that these guys would drive an hour to work on the landscaping crew at our church for free, and they couldn't believe they got to do it.
Wow.
So just being in people's stories like that, it's like I wouldn't ever trade 15 years of that to become a songwriter down the road, because there's just all these people you go like, this is what it's about. Like just being, knowing these people, knowing their stories, and then maybe getting a chance to maybe turn that into something that they can take with them, which I kind of feel like that's what songs are a lot of the time.
So what is your I'm always fascinated with the creative process. What is your songwriting process? Because it's that mix between finding a muse, right? Something that inspires you, but then just the hard, faithful work.
Yeah.
Of doing it all the time. What's your process like?
It's definitely, you keep showing up, but it's funny because a lot of the process, because now, it's now like I'll walk into a write, and it's me and usually the artist, usually a producer. And what's crazy is these producers are literally building the track as we're writing. So like by the end of 3 hours, you have something that's not far from what you hear on the radio. But
wow.
we're doing this, what we're doing right now. We're talking. We're just kind of, hey man, what are you thinking? Or, or hey lady, but if it's, if it's a man or woman, whoever, we're just talking. Because so I always try to come in with an idea or something but most of the time I'll throw out an idea that I think is the greatest thing in the world, and I mean it'll be like dumpster fire, fall flat, nobody cares. But I'll come up with something, but somebody will say something in the conversation where you're like, whoa, like, and I use the term shiny because I'm medicated ADD, so it's like for me, if something grabbed that, but it's also power in songwriting because somebody will say something and it's like it lights up in highlighter, and I can't I'm like, hold on, sorry to interrupt you, but have you ever said that before in a song? And so from there we just try to chase that down and get it into a form of something that feels like a song.
A lot of inspiration in that. Well, as you're talking, I think there's a lot of people, obviously, that want to be songwriters, that want to be singers. What would you say to them? I mean, it was more than you getting a connection. Obviously, like you said, it's something about getting the door open once, but then keeping the door open. What would you say to that person who's like 5-6 years into it and is like, I want to do this, but I just am wrestling with myself? What kind of encouragement would you give them right now?
This is not what anybody wants to hear, but like, you have to bloom where you're planted. And it doesn't hurt. Like I had resolved, I'm not going to Nashville. So yes, I was still sending things to Nashville, but I truly was in a place of like, I'm getting to play these songs for people here. And I can't tell you how many times I played songs for our church that I wrote that like they thought they were amazing. And now I'm like, oh, that was not a good song. So it's like finding a group of people that you can just play your songs for, because like, I feel like as a songwriter, more than anything, like I just want to play my songs for people. I want people to, it's like, I don't think there's anything wrong, because sometimes people with worship leaders and with songwriters are like, oh, it's vain to want to be on the stage. And like, I just disagree. Like, it's not so much about I want to be on stage. I just want to write songs and then watch it do something for somebody. And I feel like a lot of performers and artists, they're always, especially in our church world, they're told, well, you shouldn't desire that. And I'm like, yeah, there's parts of that you should desire, but you're also, it's like the same way that a pastor has this thing burning in his heart and he wants to share it with people. I feel like musicians and artists, we're the same way.
Yeah.
And we just want to move something. We want to change something for somebody with something that, we got to be a part of writing.
So how would you, so let's say a guy's listening and he doesn't want to be a songwriter, but there's something that God has put on his heart and he's still trying to figure out exactly what that is, right? Like you said, being on stage, I could take it, I could leave it, but writing songs, I got to do, right? Being a preacher, being in front of the spotlight, being in front of a crowd of 10,000, I could take or leave, but sharing whatever God's put on my heart to someone is there for sure. How would you encourage, let's say you're having coffee with a guy, how would you encourage a guy to really mine that and to really sit with God and discover what that is, and then be able to orient his life in such a way that he continues to let God refine that in his heart and in his soul to become a useful tool for him in his kingdom?
It's funny because I think there's, like, a lot of people make it an either or, a both and, or an either or that's really, I think, is a both and. So you have the case of, because where I'm going with this is so God speaks to Moses, and God calls Moses to do something that Moses thinks he's terrible at. Like,
right.
You want me to speak?
Yeah.
Not making fun of you of a stutter, but what I'm saying
no,
is,
you're
like,
good.
Literally, like, that's his thing where he's like, there's no way. So you have that moment where God tells you to do something, and you're like, I'm awful at this, and God's like, yeah, but that's where people are gonna know that I'm in it. But then also, I think sometimes it's like, there's things, I remember, I've been through all kinds of counseling. So I've almost been through enough counseling to be a counselor. We can get into that other part of the story.
Yeah.
But, grew up thinking that if I want to do something, that can't be God's will. And that's not good. Like, that's not true. Like, God, it's like the deepest desires. Again, delight yourself in the Lord who gave you the desires of your heart. I remember, just a quick story. I remember while I was in Buffalo, my wife and I would go over and we'd help out a senior adult home. And at this time, I was just kind of praying and open to what God wanted to do. And so we're hanging out with a bunch of senior adults. And, so I was always like, well, I'm going to go be a blessing, which is, most of the time I was on the receiving end of the blessing. I was not a blessing to anybody. But I remember one of the days I was like, hey, just tell me what did you want to be what did you want to do with your life when you were little? And I distinctly remember this older guy who was real, I'll edit some of his language because he was true Buffalonian, but he basically said, I've known since I was 8 years old I wanted to be in radio. And he said, and regardless of whether I starved or whether I had plenty, I never regretted a day that I part of radio. He did it his whole career. And I just felt like God lit me up with that. And God said, there's some things I put in your heart that you've known you wanted to do since you were a kid. I put that there, and there's nothing wrong with chasing it when it's time. It's like God will give us the what, and then sometimes we don't get the how or the when for a long time.
Yeah. I love that you're saying that, because we talk a lot about that here too. It's this idea that, man, we automatically shut down because you hear some people say, well, God, no, delight yourself in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart. And I'm like, as in like nothing in you is of Him. And I'm like, time out. Like God's gifted us and geared us and equipped us in a way that He's not equipped anybody else. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And we somehow reject that to say, that means I need to just do these specific lists of things that God has for me. Yes, but we hand Him our dreams and go, refine it. Right. And I think that's what you're talking about is like, here's all my stuff. Can you figure this out, God? Because I don't know how to do it. But it doesn't mean that all that is bad.
Right.
Like, we talked about before, the world was created with one no, and everything else was a yes. Don't eat that fruit. But can we, go do that. But you can do that. Just don't eat that fruit, and you're good.
Yeah.
And it still exists with this no as being don't sin. Everything else is a yes, but we've like limited ourselves. So I love that you're saying this and sharing that because you're right. There's some people that just have already governed it in their own hearts,
right,
before they allow God to really clearly define who He's created them to be.
Yeah, I think that's some of that comes from a lot of my story. We can get into it whenever, but the short version of my story is that I felt like God loved me because you have to love your kids, but He didn't necessarily like me. And so I just assumed that, man, if I ask God what I should do with my life. And what's funny, though, is even when, I presented my two nevers to God, which were seminary and which were being a worship pastor. But what's funny is, that was and maybe that was my weird Moses thing, but I've never been so fulfilled in doing those two things. I remember just being in seminary and going, actually, I kind of like this. I was the guy in the back of the class, and what I found was this is not a shot at people at seminary, but the guys at the back of the class who were cutting up and were a little bit of goofballs, but they all did really well in ministry. And there's a lot of guys that sat at the front of the class where I'm like, you should not ever be around people ever. Not
preaching the gospel right there, man.
You're preaching to the choir. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir.
Straight up truth.
Because again, it's that idea that we got to make this applicable and it's got to reach people and people matter. Yeah. And so I love it. Man, we got to have you on again because I want to hear more of your story. I know it's been this guy is like one of the hardest guys to get a hold of and actually lock down because he's so busy.
Yeah.
He's all over the place.
So good though.
Well, man, what is next for you? What's going on in your journey next?
Right now, it's like every time I have a midlife crisis, probably every 2 weeks. And so I'm asking God that question, but right now it's just like every time I ask that question, I feel like there's some, just enough of an affirmation to go like, I'll let you know when you need to know. For now, keep doing what you're doing.
Be faithful.
Line upon line. That's awesome. Dude, it's so good having you on, man. We really want to I want to get you back on to share your whole story because when we talked before, we had a coffee and when we were in Nashville and just hearing a story, I'm like, I got to get that part on as well.
Yeah.
We will talk about that too because I think today we're really leaning into this, your dream, your desire, and what you want to do. Yeah, just be faithful,
man.
Yeah,
and then God will show up. And so, that's so good. But dude, any final thoughts before we jump into our Fast Five?
I'm all out of thoughts, which is rare.
That is rare.
I'm all out of thoughts.
I mean, at least
I'm
good thoughts that I want.
Good thoughts. Travis is singing.
Sorry.
Who was that?
Well done.
I'm all out of love.
Air Supply, that's what it was.
Air Supply.
I'm all out of love. Interesting. That was the first concert. Not proud of this. That was the first concert I ever went to was Air Supply.
Air Supply?
Air Supply, yeah. And
wow.
Why would you not be proud of that?
Dude, it's Air Supply, man. I think I lost all my testosterone at that moment.
We had a conversation about low T last week, and so we'll reissue that one later on. So,
what was your first concert, real quick, before we go into the Fast Five?
First
concert.
Oh, I don't even remember, man.
Kyle, first concert.
Oh, very similar to Air Supply. It was Kiss.
Shut up. That's a complete opposite of Air Supply. Benji, what was yours?
I'm going to totally burn my man card, but I'm pretty sure it was Sandy Patty because my dad was involved in the industry early on. I will say, though, she put on a great concert.
Oh, yeah. I mean, back in the day in the Christian world, that was apex, man. She was everything.
I think mine was the Beach Boys.
Come on.
Wow.
The Beach Boys. I'm serious, the Beach Boys.
Really?
Yeah. My mom worked at...
Was it a Wet n Wild or...
No. It was my mom volunteered to do like the tickets and stuff like that, so she got to bring me for free. And I mean, it was all the Beach Boys. I mean, they were even then 20 no, 30 years ago they were in Walker. They were using Walkers.
They were the Beach Geriatrics.
Do you see now why I apologize for Air Supply? I mean, we
Exactly.
have Kiss, we have Sandy Patty, we have the Beach Boys, and I'm
Beach
like,
Boys.
we're all out of love. I'm so lost without you. Forget it. I'm
That was
outta here.
really
That
good.
was-
Stop.
That was the 80s. Like, that was, I mean, like...
Easy
that
listening,
type of thing.
K-Tel.
I
Yep.
mean, like, yeah, it's like that wasn't necessarily not masculine, so I don't think you have to go any farther with that one.
I know, right? The girls flock to it.
All right,
And
enough
if they-
of this.
And okay, we'll
Enough
move on.
of this,
Yeah,
enough
I'm
of
so
this.
sorry. Which now leads us into our Fast Five.
Let's go.
Awesome. Who do you most admire and why?
Holy smokes. Man, that's a great... That's... I don't have an immediate answer. I mean, like, I could give you... Like, and this would be a true answer, but I think... you know what? I actually admire... I think about this a lot, and this sounds... But I admire... One of the people that I think about a lot as far as finishing well, I think about Billy Graham, and it's because...
Yeah.
Not so much of his evangelism, obviously, but I love the fact that when he passed away, there was no dirt on him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And I think his legacy might even be more that than evangelism.
Bro, we talk about that all the time, too. We talk about the fact that the guys who should be standing in front of conferences are the ones who have, hey, this is Charlie. He pastored a church for 35 years. 0 scandals.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that should be it. And then it shouldn't, I mean, I'm not against the growth and stuff, but there's something valuable about a man who honors his family and the Lord his whole life.
Faithful.
Right.
I mean,
Anyways.
that's the word through this whole thing is just faithful, faithful, faithful.
Yeah, just be faithful. I love
Be faithful, man.
it. I love it. Okay, so where would you like to go on vacation with your family, not just you in Thailand on a scooter? No, I'm just kidding. Where'd you like to go on a vacation?
I actually want to go. We just haven't done it yet. I would love, because my wife is from her family. She's born here in the States, but her grandmother came over on the boat from Italy.
Oh, wow.
And so I would love to take our whole family and just go. I've just never done the whole explore Italy, England,
sounds
like
amazing.
that. So I kind of do that. I'm a kind of a history nerd.
I'm
Some
getting
history
there.
out there. A lot of people
Yeah.
answer that question with Italy.
It's a good question.
I think it's the food, it's the wine, it's all of it.
Yes,
all
that
of
is
it.
all good. All good. Awesome. What are you currently reading right now? Bible or another book?
What am I reading? I'm always juggling about 5 different books, and that's more of my brain. I'm trying to think. Reading the Bible. We are doing our. Our churches. They at least try to break it up into the 2-year read the Bible in 2 years plan, and for me,
Yeah.
it's going to translate read the Bible in about 5 years.
Yep.
Tells you about my consistency. But then beyond that, I'm always reading. I'm always juggling, because before I go to sleep, I usually read a spy novel. So all the stuff from Jack Carr, Terminal List,
Yep.
those type of stuff. I'm a big military nerd.
Nice.
And then theology-wise, a lot of times I'm reading but I'm always reading just little bits and pieces because Spurgeon's got all his sermons that you can get them for free. And man, I just like the way I heard a guy that used to mentor our church staff. He said, I only read the dead guys, and some of it was because of their legacies. I just want to make sure they finish well if I'm going to spend a lot of time reading them.
Dude, brilliant.
That's a good indicator.
That's kind of some of the places I'm right now.
Nice. What is a goal you have for this year?
So just to preface this, I was the guy in staff meeting that if the pastor asked me for a 5-year plan, I'd literally go crawl in the corner in fetal position and suck my thumb.
I feel like we're
Probably.
spirit children.
Exactly.
We're the same person.
I could grow in that area. Probably right now, I'm honestly here's one goal is I'm starting to write in some country, and because I feel like I'm a lyricist mostly, and I'm country writers are the best lyric writers in the world. So
Yep.
part of me is I definitely want, one of my goals is to start getting more in that world, even if it's nothing else but to cross-train, because I feel because one of my little secret agendas in Christian music is if we can't write our lyrics as good as country, they don't have to be country lyrics, but if they're not that good, I don't want to do it. What's the point?
Love it. Hey, side question. Who's someone in the country world right now, whether it be Texas, Red Dirt, or even Nashville country, that you're like, that dude is a legit songwriter, and I really like listening to what he puts down? Or she? This is more of an artist thing. I love Cody John. Yes.
Zach Top I went.
Yes.
I just went and saw him in commercial. I saw him in concert, and like I knew. Fun story about him is about a year before he blew up, I was playing a golf course here in Spring Hill, and I got partnered up with this young kid. Great golfer, by the way. And so this is all before and so I'm like, what do you do for a living? And he's like, man, I'm a country artist. I was playing golf with Zach Top.
Shut up.
And then like literally, and I looked him up on Spotify, and my wife and I, like, we most, if we're going to pay for a concert, most of the time, it's probably going to be a country artist.
Right.
And so I just sent her his stuff. I was like, you got to listen to him. Like, maybe I know nothing about music, but I think he's going to be a big deal. And then a year later, so then we went and see him in concert, and he, I'm expecting when his band shows up, there's going to be a lead guitar player.
Right.
He's the lead guitar player. And dude.
Wow.
He's going to be around long. I think he's going to have the same legacy as Vince Gill. He's going to have the same legacy as, like, he'll be like one of the standards. He's just, a dude's unreal. Unreal live. Sorry, I've got like the old man indigestion burp coming up.
Well, and I feel like as you're burping, I feel like, dude, I agree with you. Zach Top, he's tapped into the 90s, which is fantastic country.
100%.
Second, every time I see him, he genuinely looks like he's having a great time. Like, he's just a kid in a candy store, and he's just having a absolute great time doing what God called him to do.
That's cool.
So,
that's cool. Love it. Love it. So number 5, what's the most impactful piece of advice you've ever been given?
Don't suck. No.
Good one. Good one. Well, hey, thanks for listening today.
That's a good. I really do. I think it comes back to. It sounds funny, but this is kind of something God taught me. And I don't know. I came to a point where I realized if you're really after the will of God, He's not going to let you miss it.
That's good. That's good. That's good, man. I love it. That was a good mic drop. I love that we have mic drops on here almost every single week. So it's so good. Yeah. But man, it's been great having you on here. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And yeah, for our studio audience, thank you. Oh, wait, one more second.
Can I get that soundbite? Like, as a songwriter, we never get to hear that, and I just need that to feed my ego.
Exactly. We're there. We're there.
You mean your wife and kids don't do that for you on a regular basis? You wake up in the morning, they're like, Father is awake. Father's awake. Yay.
Yeah, no, we keep it very real in my house. That never happens.
That's awesome.
Oh, man, this has been great. I'm so glad we finally got you on here, man. We are going to have you on again because I want to hear, like, childhood story, thing like that, of how God has used that in your songwriting and in your journey to make those decisions and moving up to be a worship leader, things like that. I would love to hear more about that. But, man, we are so grateful to have you on today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you guys so much.
This is great, guys.
Oh, we love having you, man. So and you're stuck with us now, just so you know. We expect
up air supply, and I was like, all right, I'm with my people. So
you're with my people. Exactly.
Your patronization is appreciated. Thank you very much.
He said Dumb and Dumber, so we're good. Like, very much. We need to have these conversations. But man, it was good to have you on. Thank you so much if you're out there and you want to connect with Benji. How do we connect? How can they connect with you, my friend?
Probably the best way is I'm on Instagram, Benji Cowart, and Facebook, and I'll apologize ahead of time for what you may or may not see there. But
dude, your stuff is awesome. I laugh every time. I think I send you the little laughing emoji. They are just hilarious. He does all the reels and the memes. They're incredible. So
awesome.
You want to follow Benji? We'll put his stuff, his info down at the bottom as well. You can check him out. But man, thank you again for being on here. Thank you guys for listening and checking it out. I hope you guys found some great stuff out of it. Keep pursuing those dreams.
As always, info@knownlegacy.org if you got any questions, comments, or concerns. And follow us, like us, and share us. That'd be great.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.
God bless.
Thanks for listening to the Known Legacy Podcast. We'd love to hear from you, so email us your questions or comments to info@knownlegacy.org.